Welcome to another edition of Halftime Adjustments. We're live tonight. My man G Witt.
Tighten up, baby. Tighten up.
Tighten up, G Witt, man. It's good to be back, man. How you been doing?
Yes. Oh, man. Anxious, man. I'm anxious because, we don't know what football season is going to be. They've already canceled 2 of the preseason games. So I'm getting a little bit nervous. I heard they're going to let people in the stadiums do advertising on the first 8 seat rows on the stadium in the bottom. So I don't know what's going to happen, man. I'm already hearing. I heard a rumor that the Buffalo Bills were planning on playing without the fans. So, man, I don't know. I'm anxious.
So with training camp looming to start on July 28th, later this month, we decided to come back to you guys, and we're going to do a position-by-position breakdown. Tonight, we're going to talk about the trenches, where the team is either made or is broken, offensive line and a defensive line. And that's where it all starts up front. If you got a good, solid offensive line and a solid defensive line, I mean, it can do wonders for your football team.
Absolutely.
And so to start off, Grove, let's talk about the offensive line first. And what we got coming back this year for the Titans, which last year ranked 10th as far as points scored in the NFL, 3rd in rushing. And so it's hard to beat that type of those type of stats that they put up last year. And mainly, if you look at it, it really took off after Tannehill took over the offense and quarterback. Here's one thing I did find, Grover, which I thought was pretty interesting for 2019. So they call it the survival curve, the best survival curve. And this is by Power Football Focus rankings. And so and what that means is it's the highest positive difference between 3 to 4.5 seconds of a play. So the longer the play goes on, the better the offensive line protection is. And the Titans are ranked number 1 in that, which I was surprised to see that. But, you look at what took place is that the running game got going, and that makes the play action take off, right?
Absolutely. And the thing about the O-line, what you like about it, now you mentioned about Tannehill, that helped. But really, when you get down to it, when they finally decided to feature Derrick Henry for the most part, running the ball and everything, especially after the Carolina game, once they started doing that, you started seeing that offensive line really fire off the ball, because offensive linemen love nothing else better than running the ball. Right. They just want to run the ball. And I was watching the replay of the AFC Championship game today, and I was noticing how Derrick Henry was having to go against 8 and 9 men in the box, and that offensive line was still firing off, and 1, 2 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards. So power blocking was their scheme. They finally got it together. Even Taylor Lewan and Roger Saffold admitted that they really didn't come together as an offensive line until about after week 7. So and that's coincidental is when we started to see the improvement. Granted, it did coincide with Ryan Tannehill coming on board and everything, but still at the same time, you saw a better offensive line play. And the good thing for the Titans this year, for the most part, they bring back the starting offensive line intact with the exception of Jack Conklin. But as it stands right now, Dennis Kelly is the one who's penciled in, who's going to be the starter at the right tackle position.
Right, and it's funny that you mentioned that. So, like you said, lost Jack Conklin in free agency. He had a 72.3 pass block rating last year, pass block grade, and his heir apparent, which you would think would be Isaiah Wilson if as the season progressed. He had an 84.6 in his last year at Georgia, which is pretty impressive for a guy that big and the competition in the SEC that he played against.
Exactly.
So he can pass block. I think, as we talked before, that he'll struggle against probably the more athletic, quicker type pass rushers. But we'll see. What happens. The group overall ranked 8th, despite a slow start by Roger Saffold, which, like you just mentioned, they really didn't start gelling until week 7. And then, you started a rookie at right guard, Nate Davis. And you had a lot of parts and components, right?
Yeah.
To that
well, and remember, Nate Davis missed all the training camp because he was hurt.
That's right.
So, and he wasn't supposed to be the starter coming in. Actually, Kevin Panfield was supposed to be the starter, but he ended up being hurt the whole season.
That's right.
So you get Nate Davis in there, a rookie, who's having to get used to the pro game and really didn't have any kind of training camp whatsoever.
Right.
Didn't really get a chance to start to play until the fourth game against Atlanta. So, you know, he's a rookie learning on the fly, but give him his props, man, because as the season went on, he consistently improved. You didn't see them having to take him out because he wasn't doing the job. He made his share of mistakes, but they were rookie mistakes. So I'm looking forward to seeing his improvement from year one to year two, especially with as much experience as he got last year. So I think that's going to be pretty good as far as he's concerned. And Isaiah Wilson, his whole thing, you know, he's a road grader. So
Right.
look at it. I thought about this as I was looking up the offensive line the other day. If they go to the jumbo package, which, you know, even with Dennis Kelly starting, chances are they're going to bring Isaiah Wilson in for the jumbo package, which we know is their running package.
Right.
That's going to be a monster line right there, man. That's a monster line.
That's exactly right. And so, you know, speaking of Nate Davis, as I was looking at some information about him, and you know, like you say, he's looking to build off a solid rookie campaign with full training camp, so that'll help him out. And you know, he only allowed 7 sacks last season, which is pretty impressive considering he's a rookie and he missed the majority of the camp and preseason. Right. And he only had 8 penalties, so that tied him 4th in the league with the guard position.
Yes.
So, you know, good future to build off of for the rookie and coming into his second year. And, you know, and hopefully Roger Saffold will start quickly this year as well and solidify that interior, because Ben Jones, he had a great season. Is kept. You know, he was 77.2. His grade was 3rd among centers in the NFL, and 86.8 pass blocking grade, and that's with 250 more pass blocking snaps with a pressure rate below 2%. And so, you know, you got a solid interior.
Yeah.
You got a smart guy at center that needs to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you. I thought all last year that Ben Jones was the MVP of the offensive line, in all honesty, because he was the most consistent throughout the entirety of the year. And as we know, as Titan fans,
right,
that if you do not have a good center, your offensive line is going to be jacked up. And before Ben Jones got here, it was a hot mess. Let's just put it plain. So he came and actually solidified the offensive line with his play calling on the line, making changes in protection. And once they got a little cohesiveness about them, you saw them really step up. The one good thing, the one thing I'm interested in with the offensive line, in all honesty, is the depth of it. Especially, you know, last year when Ben Jones had to come out because of injury or whatever, Jamil Douglas was the one who went in and played center and actually did a fairly good job from what I remember, as far as coming in on the fly and making plays for him and everything and handling the center position. Right. But that's the thing that I'm looking at right now. I look at the offensive line, really, the starters, you're fairly well set. I mean, you know, Dennis Kelly's going to have his issues. He's better at right tackle than he is at left tackle. But you got Isaiah Wilson able to learn behind him. I don't expect him, you know, put like this, if this was a normal offseason, you might expect Isaiah Wilson probably to see some playing time like before the midway point. Right. But because of the way the offseason has gone, you really, Isaiah Wilson may not see much playing time, if any, to be honest with you, unless somebody gets hurt or whatever. But I fully expect Dennis Kelly to probably play throughout most of the year.
Right. And so, and you know, Dennis Kelly, he has his own issues with his feet and his quickness and his lateral movement. So, you know, something he needs to work on whenever camp is fully in session is that his footwork and his pass blocking with the more quicker athletic rushers as well. Yeah. And so, you know, a solid group coming back at the offensive line, you know, like I said, second year Nate Davis. So we hope to see that continue to progress. And then you never know what if Dennis Kelly will beat out Isaiah Wilson. We'll see. You know, that's why you have to go to camp and practice and make plays. And Dennis Kelly, by the way, he's good either way. He can play. He's a swing tackle. He can play left side or right side. So you got some depth there as well. And then the few players that they added during the offseason to give some more depth on.
Yeah, because they actually kept they brought back David Quisenberry after they cut him and signed him back to the practice squad. And of course, you know, like I said, Jamil Douglas. They got a couple other good guys. The guy they got from I think it was from Atlanta, Ty Sambrello. I think that's how you pronounce his name or whatever. He's coming. He's going to be in there. So they got some guys that's going to give them some opportunities to do some things as far as fill-in wise. I think Sombrello, I think he's played both left tackle and right tackle in the different teams he's been with. So he probably becomes your swing tackle, in all honesty, like
Right.
Dennis Kelly was.
That's right.
He is athletic. You just worry about really his blocking skills. The good thing for us, again, we're primarily a running team. We're old school football. So we're gonna run the ball, and hopefully, this line will get together and start road grading, which leaves everything open to the play action. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I was watching the like I said, the replay of the AFC Championship game today, and I was just looking at really go back to your earlier point, how much time Ryan Tannehill actually had to throw the ball. I mean, it says something about the and I hate to put this out there, but it got to be the truth. It says something about the weakness of the receivers not being able to get open, because he had plenty of time to throw the ball. He just had nobody open.
Right. And that shows you the importance of a running game, a solid running game, to where you're going to have those stacked boxes continuously throughout the football game, and they're going to dare you to beat them deep. And like you said, the inability of the receivers to get open, that's going to be huge if that happens this year, because then, why not play man coverage and press and bring the house to stop the run, right? Because receivers can't get open.
And that's what most defenses are going to do. I mean, I'm serious. You go back and look at that Kansas City game. They played most of the game on defense, single high safety, and everybody else was up on the line. Linebackers, DBs, everybody was within 5 yards of the line except for the single high safety, which is Tyrann Mathieu. So, the Titans are going to see a lot of that, and it's going to be incumbent upon Arthur Smith to devise a good game plan and make some good play calls. But the O-line coach, Keith Carter, man, he's going to have his work cut out for him this year. I mean, as we said, last year they improved as the season went on, but you can't have what they were doing at the beginning of the season last year happening again this year. He's going to do a better job bringing that line together as far as the team is concerned, because if he doesn't, he's going to get Ryan Tannehill killed, because as we noted before in the past, Ryan Tannehill does tend to hold the ball a tad bit too long. So he's going to and sometimes that's good because you wait for the play to develop. You're not rushing, but at the same time, the protection has got to be there. And there was a few games last year where he had no protection whatsoever.
Right, and that goes back to the other points you made a few minutes ago about the receivers' inability to get open. So they have to get open. They have to, be on time, timely in the routes to break it off and to get open, and so he can release the football. So he won't have to hold the ball, like you mentioned, at those times to get himself sacked. One person I think we failed to mention, and again, you don't really notice until you see the stats. So Taylor Lewan, he was the third-ranked tackle in NFL. This is by Athlon Sports Ranking. He only allowed 2 sacks and 12 pressures. So he had a great season as well. And that's in 487 pass block attempts. Yeah. So he finally stopped talking and played some football, which, I thought that was his biggest problem at first, is he was talking too much. He was
his ego took a hit last year when he got suspended for the first 4 games.
Right.
So, he came back. In all honesty, I went back and looked at that Buffalo game, his first game back. And man, to be totally honest with you, he struggled. He played okay for the most part, but you could tell he was trying way too hard. And for the first, I guess, 4 games he came back, man, he was really just pushing it, trying too hard, talking too much smack, instead of just playing football. You saw in the second half, especially after the bye, he just went about doing his business. Nothing jumping up, no getting in anybody's face. He tossed a smack when somebody tried to do something to one of the other linemen, or the other players. But as far as going out starting something, that wasn't what he was doing, which was good. Because if he focused on his game, he is, definitely one of the top tackles in the league, regardless of what anybody says or thinks about him.
Right. And so, with that core coming back on the offensive line, like you mentioned, man, it should be a solid group, one of the most solid groups on the field coming in 2020 when the season starts. And so, a lot to build off of. The big question again is is right tackle. Dennis Kelly is a good option to have. He's got the experience. He's been there for the past couple of years, and so he's familiar with the system until Isaiah is ready.
Yeah, but the biggest problem we noticed this last year in training camp, that in all honesty, the biggest problem with Dennis Kelly, in truthfulness, is he got heavy feet and they're slow. That's his biggest problem. That's why he's better on the right side as opposed to the left side, because the left side gets the more athletic pass rushers. So you got to have a quicker step. Whereas on the right side, you tend to get the second fastest, for lack of a better term. So you just got to be ready for it. So he's good. He'll have more space. But again, it's going to be about him moving his feet, and that's going to be his issue. That's why, in all honesty, they are hoping that Isaiah Wilson really picks it up. And like I said, I don't see him starting, especially with no off-season program or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see later on down the line the season him possibly getting some playing time as far as the games are concerned.
Guys, keep the question in the comments going, girl. We got some comments. Dion said that as far as Tannehill getting rid of the ball a lot quicker, he says that Darrynton Evans could help that out. He's an X-factor weapon that what we needed from Dion Lewis. Hopefully he'll be what Dion Lewis was not, which was that type of weapon.
And that's absolutely true. But the only problem you have, in all honesty, let's be real, he's a rookie coming in. And he's coming from Appalachian State. Don't get me wrong, because, Appalachian State's supposed to have some good football players, and they play in the same arena as East Carolina, and that's where Chris Johnson came from. And you found out one thing about him, his first training camp, the boy could flat out block.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how all this pans out. But again, the only thing I'm really concerned about with Darrynton Evans is how well he runs the ball. Because if he runs the ball well, that means teams cannot load up coming after the pass on third down when he's in there. They got to respect the run. And that's going to be the real key to this whole deal. Can he run the ball effectively?
Exactly. It's because if not, he'll be just like Dion Lewis was last year, ineffective. And they'll know we're gonna throw the ball every time he comes in the game. So that is a good point, Grover. That hopefully he can run the ball like you mentioned. So again, offensive line feel pretty comfortable about that. So let's look at the other side, Grover, the defensive line. I want to read some of these names off because there's not a lot of people there that. Well, that's why Clowney's name keeps popping up. Here we go. So of course, let's look at some of the ranks first. So defense against the run was third, which was pretty solid last year. 24th against the pass, 12th against scoring, 13 in sacks, which again, you would have known.
Better than we thought.
9th in takeaways. Here's the biggest stat that I thought was the success of the defense. Number 1 in red zone defense as far as touchdowns allowed. So 77%, which that's huge when you can hold teams from scoring, especially when your offense is sputtering on the first half of the year, right?
Yeah.
21st overall. And so, the biggest thing that happened off season, traded Jarrell Casey to the Broncos, which was upsetting to a lot of fans. Lost Austin Johnson in free agency with the Giants. And so you add some guys, and so what we have, and I kind of wrote down some things for as far as starters, in my opinion, Grover, and you see what you think about this. So Daquan Jones, of course, he's going to start.
Yeah.
I look for Isaiah Mack to start as well, along with Jeffrey Simmons. And after that, you got a toss-up. You got Laurel Murchison, which was drafted in the 5th round out of North Carolina State. The rest of the guys coming back. Amani Bledsoe, he was on the practice squad last year. You got Mac Dickerson in his third year. So he's going to step up. You got Joey Ivy, which he played some spot plays last year. And so defensive line, man, it's kind of concerning to me right now.
Well, and very well so. This is where, in all honesty, I got to tip my hat to Dave Pease, because we didn't have what I call a natural pass rush. We didn't have a pass rush where you didn't have to do tricky things in order to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Pease, because of his expertise in disguise and coverages, he basically was manufacturing pressure the whole season, because the bottom line, we couldn't get it just with the guys up front. Let's just say the 5 guys, the 2 outside linebackers and the 3 inside down linemen. I will say this, though. Jeffrey Simmons was an X factor, I thought, last year. And really, that's the only reason I'm upset about Jarrell Casey, because I was looking forward to seeing a healthy Jeffrey Simmons, a healthy Jarrell Casey and see what kind of havoc they could wreak. But that's water under the bridge right now, so you can't even worry about it. But Daquan Jones is probably going to be the nose tackle. And I expect a good season out of him. The question is going to be is the other defensive end. And I'm like you, even though they went out and signed Jack Crawford, they got Matt Dickerson. I'm looking for Isaiah Mack to be that third defensive end down on the field. I'm looking for him to improve on his rookie year. I mean, not that he did bad. I mean, considering undrafted free agent out of UT Chat, getting over 8 tackles, 4 solos, 4 assisted, 1.5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery. So, I mean, and he didn't play. He saw time in every game, but he didn't get to play a lot. I mean, he was inactive the last, 4 games of the season.
Right.
So, I'm just looking to see exactly what he brings to the table. I think he has a good motor, and also Larrell Murchison from South Carolina. I think he's going to be a good addition. He gets after the quarterback. But we're going to have to get more of a push up the middle from that defensive line. It's going to have to happen. And that gives more opportunity for the outside linebackers really to get the sacks when the QB tries to step outside the pocket. Right now, if you really think about it, most of the time against us, QBs have an opportunity to step up in the pocket.
Right.
And that's because we're just not getting that natural push up the middle. Now, we're great in goal line stances now. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Especially when Jeffrey Simmons started playing. It was like 4th and 1, you cannot run the ball.
That's right.
You can throw the ball, but you can't run the ball. Because you're just not going to get it going up the middle of that line.
And that's my concern, Grover, because after those guys that we just talked about, we got Kobe Smith, undrafted free agent. You got Tier Tart, defensive tackle, undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
Monty Bledsoe, like I mentioned, he's in his second year. He's on the practice squad, and of course, and then Jack Crawford and others. And so not a lot of big name guys there. Maybe these guys step up. You never know until you actually get there and play.
Well, and again, my problem is really with the strength of the the defensive line. Outside of Jeffrey Simmons and Daquan Jones, there's not a lot of power there. And I always thought, now Jarrell Casey, don't get me wrong, played good because he's really a 4-3 defensive tackle. But, he played in the 3-4. He did well with it, kept making it to the Pro Bowl. But I always thought that his effectiveness was based more on the fact that and you take what you got. He's quick-footed, but I always thought he got hung up trying to play the run and everything because he just had no power. The strength just never came through, even though he could move. I would know if there's a bust about it, but I just didn't see that consistency and power, and that, granted, everybody's not an Aaron Donald. Everybody's not a Jeffrey Simmons who's a slim 20-something or whatever the case may be. I mean, you look at that joker, man, he's just naturally strong. So, you're going to see that come out and everything. Daquan Jones has some pretty good strength, but they got to get a push up the middle with that defensive line, man. And really, that's what's missing.
Exactly. Taylor says defensive scheme 4-3 or 3-4. So, in my opinion, we don't have any 4-3 defensive ends. So you'll see more 3-4, more of a 4-2-5 nickel package where you have 4 linebackers, 2 on the edge, 2 defensive tackles, 2 inside linebackers. Yeah. But unless we sign Everson Griffith, I don't think we will, because he's a 4-3 guy. I don't think we'll see much of a 4-3 scheme, just based upon the players that we have and their fit in the scheme.
Exactly right. And you got to remember who we got on the coaching staff too. And for the most part, you think about Vrabel, I think he really likes the 3-4. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure they're going to stay consistent with that, especially with the fact that Vrabel went through the trouble of making sure he had an inside linebacker coach and an outside linebacker coach. So I think we're just going to see that 3-4 again. I think when it comes down to in some of the packages you saw where they had 2 down defensive linemen, linebackers, and the nickel package in the secondary. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it, man, because, again, we got to figure out a way to get a natural pass rush. Last year we didn't have it. The year before that we didn't have it. And that's something we really got to work on. because we just don't have that natural pass rush, and where you got somebody who's able to collapse the pocket up the middle. The Aaron Donalds and the Albert Haynesworth are, they just, and the Sam Adams and things like that, they just don't come around all the time. So hopefully, with who we got with Daquan and Jeffrey Simmons, we'll get that natural pass rush up the middle, and maybe Murchison can help out in Isaiah Mack. But we got to figure out a way to do that with that defensive line.
Got some more comments coming in, Grover. So Taylor says, so many new people. Training camp is twice as critical for personnel placement. That is so true, Taylor, especially with we're off season happening this year. It's going to be extra critical to get those reps in, to get those players familiar with the schemes. I mean, whoever can do that the best is going to have a leg up on everybody else. And so this is going to be a unique football season if and when it starts, because everybody is going to be at the same starting point.
Absolutely.
Other than talent-wise, everybody's going to be at ground zero trying to build those schemes and try to get those players familiar with those schemes. And then with some of the players that change teams, I'm just thinking about Tom Brady, which we know he's practicing with his receivers as usual. Yeah. But, just getting those guys meshing and getting the chemistry together, it's going to be very critical this offseason.
Absolutely. And that's going to be the difference, man. And that's and truthfully, for me, one of the reasons why I was a little perturbed about them canceling the 2 preseason games, because I just felt like this year more than ever, the preseason is extremely important, because you didn't have that off-season workout program that you normally have. So that's going to be the opportunity for them to get down to brass tacks as far as being able to scrimmage, live scrimmages and everything, and be able to play, understand play calling, how to get in and out of the huddle, all of that, how to get set up defensively, offensively. So I thought this year the preseason is going to be – I thought it was going to be the most important preseason they've ever had, in all honesty. And I still feel that way, even with just the 2 games. It's going to be very important, and how we see the coaches manage that, especially offensive line and defensive line, because you got to be careful with those guys and make sure, you got to keep them healthy for one.
Right.
And that's kind of hard to do when they're playing at college speed, in the preseason and everything. So it's going to be hard to evaluate talent this year. The coaches got to really do their homework and everything. It's going to be a lot of sleepless nights. Let me just put it like
that. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Eddie Arnett, my man G Witt across the way.
Tighten up, baby.
Questions coming. Tighten up, Will Kennedy. Thank you for joining us tonight, man. Frank Hickerson said we still have no defensive coordinator, Grover. And we still don't know how that's going to work out. Is it going to be a variable? It's going to be a combination of coaches calling the defensive schemes. But good question, good point there, Frank. Thank you for that. And so we don't know how it's going to work out. We don't know how it's going to affect the squad. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, and like you said, the biggest thing for us is calling the plays. And again, that's more incumbent upon the coaches. Terrell Williams, who's the D-line coach, it's going to be really incumbent upon him to have those guys completely ready for each and every game, because we don't know who's going to be calling the plays. We don't know if it's going to be Vrabel or if it's going to be, what's his name, Sean, I believe, one of the linebacker coaches. Uh-huh. He had mentioned something about he was going to be his voice in the room when he's not in there. So, you just don't know. It's going to be interesting, man. I don't know how it's all going to turn out, but I'll let you know. I'm just looking forward to see how they're going to play. But, yeah, that defensive line has got to come together.
Yeah, definitely. And another comment from Chris Sharp. Thank you, sir, for that comment. The Titans were in nickel over 60% last season. Great observation, of course, because you had Logan Ryan playing the slot, coming off the slot nickel blitz. And so you're exactly right. We were in that a lot last year, which I thought was a great defense for the talent that we had, especially in passing situations. And you can also play the run because Logan Ryan was good at supporting the run.
Yeah.
Which we now got to find that person. Was that Malcolm Butler? Is that Adoree Jackson? So we'll see. Or that could be a Christian Fulton.
It could be Christian Fulton. It could be Amani Hooker.
Could be Amani Hooker.
Or they might put Dan Cruikshank in there.
Right.
And have him play, because he played in college. He played some nickel, so he might be doing that. And that fits his style really. Just don't know how good he is on blitzing or anything like that. Like Logan Ryan, you just had to give him his credit. He was very good at timing his blessings, at disguising his blessings.
Very good at disguising.
To where he actually came free quite a number of times. So, delayed blessings and whatever. So we don't know who all's going to fit in there. You think Christian Fulton because they drafted him so high and everything, you hope he will be the one. But it may be Dan Christian. It may be Amani Hooker. We don't know. But this, on the defensive side of the ball, man, we got a lot of questions, man. A lot of questions and a lot of questions we simply just can't answer.
Right. And some of the guys mentioned in some of the comments coming in, Grover, that Jim Haslett has some experience in play calling, which, we talked about his former role as DC and previous coaching stints. And so he does have some experience. That is a great point. Thank you for that. And so is he going to be the guy calling the defense? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, and again, one thing looking back over his career, one thing you can say about him is that generally always his first year play calling, his defenses are off the charts because he just has that element of surprise. But once you see him going to his second and third year, all of a sudden you see his defense is not as effective. And he may be a little bit more like somebody like Wade Phillips, where he has a certain defense that he always runs and he doesn't change from it. Therefore, teams catch up to him and they take advantage because they know what he's going to do. So, but that's not Vrabel's style. Vrabel wants, as he said, multiplicity of fronts, multiplicity of coverages. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Dean Pease could do that. Like I said, my biggest problem with Dean Pease is the fact that I thought he backed off on pressure and went to too much zone, especially at critical points of the game. And I thought that, in some cases it came to bite him in the butt. But in some cases it worked out for him. But you got to be careful about that. Sometimes he went into a prevent, and I was like, the only thing a prevent does for you is prevent you from winning. So, and you know me, man, I'm a defensive guy, so I prefer for defenses to be aggressive.
Right. And so as we look, let's look at something else, Grover, I thought we need to talk about. So it's in the AFC South, how does this offensive line stack up against the competition? So of course the Colts have one of the best, I'm gonna say, as far as talent wise in the AFC South. But the Titans are right there, man. You think about it, number 3 in the league last year in rushing, and with Derrick Henry coming back and the play action there and some receivers that could catch the ball.
Receivers that can get open.
Right. The offensive line is pretty solid and can rank pretty tough against the rest of the competition.
Well, and if you realize in the AFC South, for the most part, the top 2 offensive lines in the division actually belong to either us or the Colts. Right. The Colts I may give number 1 because they allow the fewest sacks. They run the ball pretty well, and they got some mean guys on that line. I gotta give them the props. Those jokers are nasty, man. Yeah, they're nasty. And the good thing about them is they got a coach who believes in getting the ball out quick, so they don't have to hold their blocks very long. So they're very they can sustain what they need to do, knowing that they don't have to hold them forever. Whereas with us, one of the issues we ran into is the fact that Marcus and again, sometimes to a fault, Tannehill hold the ball too long. So that makes the offensive line seem a little bit less effective than what it actually is. But we do know that Houston's line is somewhat improving. Jacksonville, we don't know what's going to happen with them. I mean, again, they're in total rebuild mode, so we don't really know exactly how they're going to be. But, yeah, definitely the Titans and the Colts have the top 2 offensive lines in the division. And if we run the ball effectively, we would basically be the number 1 offensive line.
Exactly. So got another question from Dion. Thank you, Dion, for the question. He says, do we think we need better wide receiver talent or a better wide receiver coach?
Ooh. That's a good question. I'm gonna say this. And we said this last year about the wide receiver room. It was probably the most talented group of wide receivers we've ever had, top to bottom, as far as that was concerned. But we definitely got to get better play out of that position as far as getting open and getting open quicker. Corey Davis struggled last year getting open, especially in press coverage. You expected A.J. Brown to struggle because he's a rookie. He did better as the season went on, but he struggled from the get-go. Adam Humphries struggled as far as finding his fit within the offense, and he made his plays. But it's going to be interesting to see how all this comes to play. Jonnu Smith, the tight ends, Anthony Firsker. So it's going to be in Blasingame. You're going to have to see how all that works. But yeah, we definitely need to have that receivers coach. He's got to get something done with these receivers as far as getting open, because with us running the ball the way we do, we got to have those receivers be able to get open for quick passes and take it down the field, because that's going to open up the holes for Derrick Henry.
Exactly. And as we mentioned, losing Tajaé Sharpe is going to be huge, more than we think, because now you don't have that fourth receiver or that third. Well, you got Adam Humphries, but you don't have anybody after him that's reliable as far as route running and possession catching, right?
Exactly. And the thing about it,
Khalif Raymond's got the speed to get down the field. Yeah. And after him, who else do you have? And so that's the question right there, Deon. Yeah. Who else is it going to be after those four guys? So
and the thing again with even with Tajaé Sharpe, he sometimes, even though he ran good routes, he sometimes struggled to get open as well. So yeah, you're going to need somebody, because generally what you had with him, now, to his credit, don't get me wrong, to his credit, Corey Davis is out, Tajaé Sharpe stands up. The offense literally doesn't really miss a beat. Mm-hmm. So that fourth receiver is really, really important, because if you think about it, and I was listening to Greg Cosell the other day, he made a good point. Mm-hmm. He said a lot of teams, basically what they're doing, they're not going to the traditional 3 wide out set. A lot of times, especially with teams like us, when you got a receiver like a tight end like Jonnu Smith, they line him out, and now you get your 3 wide outs, and everybody's in nickel package, and you're good to go. So it's a whole different ballgame on how they do things. So it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, that receiving court needs to figure out a way to get open a lot quicker, so Tannehill can get the ball out a lot faster. Because Grant, if they do that, then Tannehill can have a long, sustained season without really any real injuries.
Exactly. Taylor says good talent makes good coaches get the players in. I agree with that. Frank said we really don't throw the ball that much. He believes, which we're gonna have to throw the ball. Especially this year, since so successful in running the football last season, and everybody knows what we want to do: play action, run the football, grind it out. And you just don't want to play. Nobody wants to play against that late in the season, especially in the fourth quarter, as you saw in the playoffs. It's hard to play a football team that can grind the rock, eat up the clock, and score. And so, but Frank, I believe, and we both believe that we're going to throw the ball more this year. It's going to be.
And then throwing the ball more. We're not talking about throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game.
No.
If we're doing that, 9 times out of 10, we're on the losing side of the game. The bottom line is you want to be balanced with it. You want to throw the ball, but really our window of throwing the ball is actually between 20 and 30. Mm-hmm. We really don't want to get high. Really, you don't want to get higher than about 25 passes a game. We want to be running the ball. Right. We want to run the ball effectively, especially if we done built up a lead in the fourth quarter, like you said. Nobody wants to tackle Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter. We saw that. He's a beast. He's going to keep running. And like this, even all the announcers, the color commentators on TV, regardless of who it was, they all said the same thing. Like, man, you get in the fourth quarter, and this all of a sudden, them 3-4 yard gains become 8, 11, 60. So, and then the offensive line gets to firing up. Man, I was watching the replay of the Kansas City game that we played back in November, and there was one time where we had like a 3rd and 2, and Tony Romo was like, everybody knows what's going to happen. Right. Everybody knows who's going to get the ball. He said, and that's what you love about a good running game. You know what you're going to do. The defense knows what you're going to do. You know that the defense knows what you're going to do, and you go out there and do it anyway. And you're talking about guys blowing off the line. Derrick, we got 3rd and 2. He gets the ball. The offensive line gets 3 yards before Derrick Henry even gets touched. Right. So that's real football to me, and that's what you want to see.
Couple more questions.
Don't get me hyped up, man. Don't get me hyped up.
Hey, man, we are on the brink of having football season. So
yeah, man, but we're not gonna get to go to training camp, man. It's killing me.
I know. I got some more coming, but here we go. So keep the questions and comments coming, guys. We appreciate it. So Dion, appreciate Dion. He says he's eyeballing Antonio Brown as a
Why?
probably as that may be to Titans Nation as far as an addition to the wide receiver group. Yeah,
Okay.
he might have the talent, but he's cancer. He's cancer in the locker room. So when he gets here, if he came here, he's going to have to run block. And can he run block 50 plays a game and only catch 2 balls? There's the question.
And you know what? You hit the nail on the head, because you go back and look at those long runs that Derrick Henry had. One of the main reasons he was able to do that was wide receivers were down the field blocking. It didn't matter if it was Tajay Sharp, Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, A.J. Brown. Everybody knew when you saw him coming, you go find a man and block him. So is Antonio Brown going to be able to do that, knowing that he might get the ball maybe thrown to him anywhere between, 6 to 8 times a game? I mean, you got to – Antonio Brown doesn't want to come here. We're a straight-up running team, and somebody like that who wants all the attention, wants all the ball. And don't get me wrong, bad boy on the field. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can't deny the talent. But he's a headache. And bottom line is they wouldn't bring him in here anyway.
Right. Dion said he retract his AB plea. Got another for you, Grover. So Ryan Walker, man, appreciate your comment. He said, what do we think about Cole McDonald? Will he win the backup job? Great question.
Oof, I doubt it. So and the reason being is if his throwing motion hasn't shown market improvement, he's going to be a practice squad player.
So, and they say he's been working on his throwing motion, which, hopefully he has. If you really look at him and what we already have in place in Woodside, they're almost similar players.
Yeah.
Both mobile, we're in a spread type offense. And so can he beat what?
And both have a long wind-up throw.
A long wind-up throw. And so, it's going to be good competition. Don't get me wrong, Ryan. I appreciate the question, man, but it's going to be tough to beat out Woodside. He was there already, and he knows the system for me. Unless he just comes in and just has a great camp.
He had to blow him away.
Yeah, I know Woodside's not going to. I'm just saying, unless Cole McDonald comes in and shows that he can throw the ball accurately downfield, get rid of it quick, make great decisions. I see him as a practice squad quarterback at most.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to blow them away in order to win that second job. And basically, Logan Woodside has it. It's his to lose. But Cole McDonald, he can play. The bottom line is, how much can he improve? Again, knowing that you have not had that on the field practice with anybody.
Right.
That's going to be the difference between him and who. And you got to ask the question: who's he been working with with his throwing motion? Because his mechanics, as it stands right now, he has that Tim Tebow throwing motion style, and even that's a little bit awkward on him. And it just leads to more problems, more fumbles, and he just can't get the ball out quick enough.
Oh, you said Tim Tebow, man.
I mean, that was Tim Tebow had the same problem, man. He had that wind up throwing motion, and that was one of the reasons. Good guy and everything, good football player, but that wind up throwing motion, man, it just cost him. It just took too many things away from him.
And it reminds you of the guy we drafted a couple seasons ago, and his name is slipping my mind, but he had that same wind-up throw that we looked at when we was in camp. And what happened every time he got in the pocket, they just busted him with the ball in the game. So, great observation there, Grover. And so Taylor says Jonnu Smith is a wild card in the receiving corps. They'll utilize him some in the inside slot formations and tight set plus at the X, which I can't disagree with that at all. Is Jonnu Smith going to be the X factor? Along with Ferguson, I believe is going to be critical in the passing game, is providing depth as far as the wide receiver goes. So, a great point, Taylor. Jonnu Smith, he is another X factor to his offense with his athletic ability and his speed. He should be a big weapon for this offense.
And remember, Jonnu Smith's biggest his problem is he has 2 issues he has to deal with. One, still continued improvement on his blocking. He improved last year. Mm-hmm. He just got to continue to step it up. 2, and I hate saying it, staying healthy.
I knew he was gonna say that.
But I gotta say it, man, because
you're right. You're exactly
his first few years he's been hurt.
Yep.
So I mean, you think about it, he came off a serious knee injury last year, and actually it didn't seem like he really got his feet up under him on a solid way until like halfway through the season. Now he's got a full off season. You want to see him be able to maintain it throughout the whole season, blocking, catching the ball, and because we definitely know when he catches the ball, he's got wheels.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's got wheels. I got the NFL replay package, so I went back and looked at some games, man. Some games like we had like a 3rd and 13. He catches the ball like 8 yards down the field, makes one guy miss, and ended up going for like 28 yards. That's what he can do. So, that's what you want to see from Jonnu Smith, catching the ball, running, making people miss, and taking off down the field. Because he's got the wheels, man. The Joker can flat out run.
Yeah, thank you for that assist, Deon. It was Luke Falk. I couldn't think of his name. I appreciate it. Taylor says we should have picked up Cam Newton. Here we go. Well, Cam didn't want to be the backup. He wanted to be a starter, and so he wasn't going to come here anyway. Not to be a backup, because that's what he was.
Well, that's true. And you think of
the team. You
think about
not Tannehill, but man, I don't think I've ever seen Grover speechless on this show. He is speechless right now.
Okay, all right.
He made him speechless.
Here's my thing. And don't get me wrong. I think Cam, he might be due for a resurgence. He may be. He may be fully recovered from that shoulder injury that was giving him so many issues. But you got to remember one thing about Cam. Even before he hurt his shoulder and everything, Cam was about his completion percentage was in the high 50s, low 60s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Cam, I think you saw what happened. He took a minimal contract that's loaded with incentives.
That's right.
The good thing for him is that he's going to a team where there's only one guy in front of him, and that's Stidham. And it's just going to depend on what he's going to be able to do up there in New England with Belichick and everything, because it's going to be a different environment for him. Belichick, he'll let you be expressive on the field and all that kind of stuff, but the pouting and everything on the sidelines and all that he can't be doing that, man. And Belichick ain't going to go for it. Can't be late to a meeting. It's a whole different environment because all Belichick wants to do is win. That's all he cares about.
Guys, again, thank you for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. It's your host, Eddie, and my man G Witt across the way. And so as we get ready to wrap this show, Grover, and we're looking at the offensive line and defensive line. So looking at what we faced in this season coming up with 2020. So we've always had a problem getting to Deshaun Watson. So it's going to be critical that we get some edge pressure. And then the Colts, they got
Phillip
Rivers in the pocket that he's not going to come out of the pocket. So we got to get the push up the middle. And you know what we're going to do, with Jacksonville, it's not too much there. But again, if we're going to win this division, we got to get pressure up the middle on Phillip Rivers. We got to contain Deshaun Watson. Got to get pressure on him. And we got to be able to run the football with off the line and protect Ryan Tannehill in the pocket.
Yeah. This season is going to be interesting again because you stop and look at it like you just said. Being able to get pressure on the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Yeah, you got to be able to get pressure on him up the middle, but you also got to be able to contain him on the outside, which is Vic Beasley and Harold Landry going to do their jobs. Against the Colts, you still need to get that pressure up the middle to force Phillip Rivers into throwing the ball kind of crazy. And we know one thing about Phillip Rivers over the past few years, he will try to force the ball sometimes. But like I said, he's going to have Frank Reich with him, so it's going to be a whole different ball game. And I would say this on Phillip Rivers. I think if next year isn't it for him, if this coming up season doesn't do it for him, I think he's probably done. But we got to be prepared for him because we're going to face him twice. And Phillip Rivers, regardless of what anybody said, he's a mean quarterback. He's about the second meanest quarterback in the league. Well, third, I should say, behind Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Phillip Rivers is probably the meanest quarterback out there. You're not going to punk him. You're not going to make him lay down. You're not going to shake him. He's going to keep coming. So you got to keep coming at him. He won't stop.
So one more comment, Grover. So Taylor says, so Tannehill gets hurt. Then what? Well,
then everybody in Nashville better drop on their knees and stop praying.
Now, if so, we just got to face it. They love Logan Woodside. We got to face it. He's going to be the backup guy. He's going to be number 2. And like you said, if he gets hurt, you might as well just hold your breath and just wait. See what's going to happen. Because that's who it's going to be. There's nobody else out there to bring in that, I mean.
Here's the thing. And this is the only thing I can go by. And I will say this. If that happens and it's Logan Woodside who has to come in, we really get to see what kind of offensive coordinator Arthur Smith is. Because he's going to have to change the way the offense is run with Logan Woodside in there. Because one thing about Logan Woodside, if you think about it, he's not very tall.
Right.
You're going to have to move him. And you got to do something crazy. You got to do something inventive because you're going to have 10 men in the box run against Derrick Henry. Now, 8 men we can run on. 9 men we can run on. 10, that's just a little bit too much. If you stop and think about it, in that AFC Championship game in the second half, what did Kansas City do? They were putting 8 men in the box in the first half, and that wasn't working. They went to a goal line stance defensive front, regardless of where they were on the field on first and second down against Derrick Henry. That meant you had 10 men in the box, basically. They weren't even worried about receivers. You had 10 men in the box, and you had to run against that. That's what made it so hard. It brought the safety down closer. So, Arthur Smith's going to be inventive if Tannehill goes down in order for us to be able to do anything. And even then, it's going to be rough because you might get away with it for 1 game, but you won't get away with it for 2. You got to keep changing up. And we'll see and that would also tell us about Vrabel as well. Vrabel did a good job last year, I thought, when he made that tough decision to bench Mariota and put in Tannehill, although it really wasn't that tough. I mean, he just hated to do it, but he had no choice in the matter. But we're going to see what kind of coach he is also because they want to get together and be inventive. You're going to have to adapt. You got to be. We talked about Vrabel being Belichickian last year. He's really going to pull the rabbit out the hat and be Belichickian if Tannehill goes down. And we both know that's all. Tannehill is Tannehill. I've been saying, I'm still saying it. He's still Ryan Tannehill. We don't know what we're going to get.
Right. And so, couple more. So Will says, and thank you for joining us. With no more excuses for the Titans. The boogeyman are gone now. Luck and D-Hop. It's true. They're gone. Taylor, we did draft a quarterback. I seen somebody responding to Cole McDonald was that quarterback in the 7th round, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. So we got to roll with that.
You think about it, they didn't even bring in an undrafted free agent for a quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like, granted that Cole McDonald being a 7th rounder, it's kind of the equivalent to that.
Yeah.
But, they didn't even go out and find I go to a small college somewhere and pull one out the hat. I don't know. Division III, NAIA, whatever the case may be. But somebody's got some height and is used to running in a pro-style offense. Man, I've said it for years, and I really – spread quarterbacks just don't do as well in the NFL as those who come from pro-style. I could be wrong, but it's just me. I just don't see it. It just generally don't work as well. Even though that's mostly what's coming out right now.
Right.
Spread quarterback overall just don't do as well. They become flash in the pans, but they really don't do that well. Deshaun Watson may be the exception to the rule, maybe.
Exactly right. And so, guys, again, thank you for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments live tonight. And we'll be back again next Sunday and we'll be talking about another position group. We'll put that out there, and looking forward to breaking it down and getting close to what we hope is football season, training camp on 28th of this year. Yeah. And, well, yes. Good, Dion. I'm glad that came in before we signed off. Kaepernick is out there. And I really, truly believe they should bring him in. I really do. I'm going to tell you, even though he hasn't played in the past few years, he's got to be better than what we got right now.
Well, as far as a backup, I can't disagree with you on that. At least he got some experience, and it'd be more about him learning the offense as opposed to judging whether or not his arm is good enough. Because and I'll tell anybody this, if nothing else, he threw the prettiest ball in the NFL when he was starting full-time for the 49ers. That ball came off his hand. It came off quick, came off fast. And, I mean, it was just smooth and pretty to watch. So, yeah, I got no problems they bring Kaepernick in. You know, he definitely got something more than what we got right now. The question is, will they?
Right. Will they do it? I mean, it makes so much sense. In my mind to bring him in. And Will says bring back Clipboard Jesus.
Oh, no. No.
Thank you for that, Will.
Just to go back, you know, what was it, last week before? Yeah, last week they replayed the Week 17 game we had against the Colts when Blaine Gabbert had to start.
Oh, gosh.
Dude, man. You know, it was horrible watching him throw the ball, man. It really was. It was horrible.
He's Tom Brady's backup.
Yeah, no. I'm like, how does it, you know, somebody's got to explain that to me. How these guys continue to get Blaine Gabbert, man, was horrible in that game. I mean, absolutely horrible. Bad enough to the point to where the Colts weren't even worried about him throwing the ball.
Would you? Would you worry?
I mean, come on, but you're an NFL quarterback. You got to be able to throw the ball, man. And they weren't even worried about him throwing the ball. I'm looking at this game, I'm like, and then on top of that, we fight back, get within the touchdown. And on the last play that he throws the ball, he's running to his right. He throws back to his left. And mind you, he had a guy that was coming right in Darius Jennings in the picture, but he threw the ball short, which is what he had been doing the whole night anyway. I mean, you know, it's just one of them things, man. But they literally, I would say this. I'm thinking, or hoping, I should say, that J-Rob is waiting for somebody to get cut who might fit the mold a little bit better than what we have right now behind Ryan Tannehill. I'm hoping that's what he's going to do. Waiting to see who gets cut and then actually pulling somebody else in. Because right now, Logan Woodside, we saw him last year. We know what we got there. Cole McDonald, we don't know what we're going to get. All we got right now is Ryan Tannehill. And granted, Ryan Tannehill may be humble enough now to where he's going to play a lot better, play more in control than what he did when he was down in Miami. But I got a friend of mine who's an old school Dolphins fan, and he said Ryan Tannehill will always get you to the edge and then disappoint you.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, man. I'm just right now, that's the position that scares me more than anything.
I know it. I agree with you.
It scares me more than anything. And I said, like I said all last year, Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill. You can't expect him to be a Tom Brady, even though he played good last year, even though his stats were better last year. You just can't expect that with him. That's not his role. But if he can manage the game well, make plays here and there, hey, he's good enough to make people respect your passing game. I will say that.
Well, he was in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, he was a game manager because he wasn't throwing much because the game was working. So and when those opportunities came up, he was able to
he made some plays. But you
right.
think about it, when we needed him to make plays in the Kansas City game, it was now granted, like we said, it wasn't all his fault. Receivers weren't getting open.
Right.
Let's just be real about it. They weren't getting open.
And so
That was part of the problem with that one.
So Taylor asked, does Cap want to play? I would think he want to play. Kaepernick, I would think so. Even though, I mean, even though he's been blackballed by the NFL, I would think he got the opportunity. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
And a lot of it would depend upon the team, where he would go.
Mm-hmm.
And with somebody like Kaepernick now, he could come to the Titans. And the reason why is because front office wise, we would be able to handle it. Front office wise. Mm-hmm. Amy Adams Strunk, John Robinson, Mike Vrabel have enough built up trust to where people may not like it, but they'll deal with it.
Yeah, I don't think people will like it either as well. I mean, just looking at some of the comments on social media, I think that you'll hear a lot of negative comments about it, which I don't understand. But anyway, that's another thing.
But like I said, you would hear those negative comments, but you got a front office that would basically ignore those comments.
Right. Just
like they did when think about it, Jeffrey Simmons last year.
Oh,
when
yeah.
When they brought out his issue.
Right.
They addressed it head on, and then they moved on. If you wanted to bring it up after that, Jeffrey Simmons owned up to it. Talk to you straight man to man. Mm-hmm. That's how they do. That's why you got a strong front office, because they deal with those situations and attack them head on, and then they move on from them. So that's why I said, yeah, we could bring them in because we have a front office staff that's strong enough to say, yeah, we brought them in. We talked to them. We have a mutual understanding, and we're moving forward.
That's right.
And that's what you need to have.
Exactly. So again, guys, thank you for watching another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Eddie Arnell, G Witt. We'll be back with you live next week at 7 o'clock next Sunday. Hopefully, football season will be here on the 28th of this month.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's when football season officially starts, at the beginning of training camp. Like I said, my only disappointment is we won't be able to go this year.
That's exactly right. All right, G Witt, we out, man. We'll see y'all next Sunday. Join us live, 7 p.m. right here on Halftime Adjustment.
Peace. Okay. Peace.